Welcome to the Ghost Story Guys mini show, the very first Ghost Story Guys mini show.
Woohoo!
I'm Brennan Storr.
I'm Ian Gibbs.
And I don't know what to say here, Ian.
I think we just go where it takes us.
Okay, we'll do that. Yes, this is, as I said, our very first mini show. We have always resisted being a weekly show because, man, that's a lot of work.
It is. But then we got the perfect theme music, and how can we say no?
Oh, absolutely, yes. If you've listened to our regular show, you'll know, of course, our theme song, Radio Into the Darkness We Go, composed and performed by Peter of Pizzanta Music. Well, we have now the music you've heard, and that will be only for the mini show. It is the Surfing Dead mix.
Love it.
Of Into the Darkness We Go by Ferre. And I'm probably mispronouncing that, so hopefully he doesn't listen to the show.
I'm sure he won't.
I'm sure he won't. But yes, I'm excited. We only mentioned it on the main show last episode, but we've been talking about it for a little while.
Yeah.
And the reason we're doing it is we get so much great correspondence from people. And we didn't really have a way to respond to it in the main show without bloating out the runtime of the show.
No, and the only thing we could really share were the stories. But we get so many interesting emails from people who have different perspectives on something we've talked about, or they've got something to add to another story, or they have questions, and we just didn't have anywhere to put that. So this is actually, in some ways, this is going to be kind of the more interactive show.
Absolutely, yeah. If
which
you
I
have
kind of
questions,
like.
if you have questions for us, this will be the place where you hear them answered.
Yeah.
And there's going to be other things that come and go as the shows evolve. It's always going to be a little bit different, or I'd like to think it will be. And with little segments that will change as we have things to offer, as we have things to say. This is going to be like our test kitchen.
Yeah.
So just strap in and come
on.
along. Well, maybe that too. That's fine.
Strap in, strap on, and brace yourself.
Whatever blows your skirt up, as the man says.
Whatever gets those jeans off.
Exactly. Or on, if that's your thing. Wow, this is derailed. Okay.
Oh my God, so funny.
Oh dear.
Oh dear, it's veered so badly off the rails so quickly.
I guess I should have expected that.
Well, it's us, yeah.
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 But yeah, so we're going to get started with listener mail.
Our courteous and efficient staff is on call 24 hours a day to serve all your supernatural elimination needs.
We're ready to believe you.
Of course, we'd like to thank everyone who reaches out to us with your comments, your questions, your gentle criticisms. We love it all. We love hearing from you. Knowing that you guys are out there is what keeps us interested, what keeps us going, because after all, we're artists, and who doesn't love having their ego stroked?
Exactly.
So, before we get to individual messages, I just want to touch on something that came up after episode 91. We got a lot of mail about the audio anomalies we played on that show.
Mm-hmm.
And what tends to happen when we do an episode where people talk about audio anomalies is people will then write in with more that they believe they've heard in the show.
Right.
And I read all the emails everyone sent, and I checked out all the spaces they recommended I check out in the show. Mm-hmm. And I believe what everyone is hearing is actually, and it's kind of disappointing, but it's actually just artifacts from the web recording software that we're using.
Yes.
Sadly,
which is disappointing.
It is. Yeah. I would much rather it be something spooky, but we're using this web-based platform that allows us to record from each other's houses, but upload individual audio tracks. Mm. And it started out really great and has gotten kind of progressively more garbage.
And I don't know why.
I think this kind of comes from the fact that the company that we're using, they are trying to add video chat as well. They're basically trying to become Zoom.
Yeah.
And they should not try to become Zoom, because Zoom is already very good at being Zoom.
Yeah.
And based on what I've seen so far, these guys are very bad at being Zoom.
Right.
And in the process of being bad at being Zoom, they're also starting to be bad at being Zencaster. So,
and that's a problem.
Yep. Just stick with what you're good at, folks. If you learn anything from us, change is bad.
Change is bad and should be avoided at all costs.
Absolutely, he says on the new live show. that has been stressing me out constantly. But that's now that we're doing it, or a mini show, not live show, mini show. Now that we're doing it, I'm sure I'll feel much better.
You will.
Yes.
You'll be happy.
Well, let's not go crazy here.
No, okay. Joy is too much to expect.
Yeah, I will be less fraught with anxiety slightly. Slightly. All right, next up.
We had a lot of listeners respond to our question about what episode it is that Brennan told the story, which would eventually birth his ghost children, Nathaniel and Kiki. Turns out it was episode 47, Taxi to the Other Side, released on December 11th, 2018, and Nathaniel and Kiki have not gone away.
No. In fact, someone just tagged me on Instagram a couple days ago with new art, and I haven't reposted it yet, but I will, because it's my ghost children have returned.
Well, and Sarah wrote a wonderful origin story for Nathaniel and Kiki.
Yes.
Have you gotten to read it yet?
I haven't. No, she posted it in the private group when I was right in the middle of my like anxiety curtain of sweat and terror. So
that's not a good time to enjoy someone else's art.
No, I haven't. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of staring at the wall, but
it answers a lot of questions.
Exciting!
Like why you don't remember your children?
Oh, no way.
Yes. Who they are, where they came from, how I came to name them. It's all in the story.
Oh, dude. Okay. Well,
it's really neat. She did a great job. Well,
Sarah, thank you so much. And I, like an asshole, completely forgot to thank her at all on the live show today. Oh, I'm a clown. I will do that. And we're going to find a way to get that to the patrons, maybe.
I think that's a really good idea. I think that is such a good idea.
And if you want to become a patron, you can do so at patreon.com/ghoststoryguys. Before we move on, I want to say that Taxi to the Other Side is one of my favorite episodes.
And why? Why? I mean, I love that episode too, but what in particular did you love about it?
Two reasons. One, I feel like it was one of our first stories that really had a lot of great international stuff.
Yes.
Because it just turned out that a lot of taxi stories were coming from India, Singapore, places like that. And it really kind of it really showed stories from different cultures and kind of how ghost stories change depending on place, which is something that we've really kind of not built the show around, but we've really come to learn a lot more about that as we've gone on.
Well, and come to love, actually.
Oh shit, yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
And the other thing that the other reason I love it is not to pat myself on the back too much, but
no, you can.
I came up with the idea for that show while I was at a tiny club show in Vancouver a couple years ago. And one night I found out that the artist King Dude was playing this minute show in East Van at a tiny DIY venue. And I say DIY, I mean semi-legal. This was during the day, this was a very different business. And they just crammed, I mean, only 20 people were there.
That's cool.
But it was cinder block walls. It was deafening. Thank God I had earplugs.
Right.
But because I'm old. But but yeah, and so between sets, I would go outside because it was quite warm in there.
Right.
And awkward because I didn't know anyone. Everyone else was a very small scene, and I was very much odd man out. But the venue, which is sadly gone now, was right by the port. And so all night, I would see taxi cabs coming and going from the port. And I remember thinking to myself, Jesus, I wonder if there's any stories about taxi drivers and haunting, because you must see shit. You must have experiences. As it turns out, but anyways, yeah, that's why that's my favorite version.
Pretty great. That was and I mean, Nathaniel and Kiki have never left us. So,
oh God, no matter how hard I try.
Bless them. You're going to change your mind once you read that origin story.
That's true.
You're going to feel bad.
I just don't want to have kids is a thing. So I'm just
dude,
worried.
You already do. You just need to break a curse to remember them.
Oh, okay.
And soon, I might add, just saying from the story.
Oh, like I don't have enough shit to do. All right, so we're going to dive into Mailbag proper now. And our first message comes from Triss. And Triss says, I have just turned 15. I have officially lived in Alaska for over half my life. Alaska has a lot of myth and legend, but there's still a lot of real ghost stories. And she included a great story, which we're going to be including on a future show.
Nice.
And said, and she said that if she has more, if we want them. And Triss, if you're listening to this, yes, absolutely. We want to hear your stories. Always.
Absolutely. And happy birthday.
Yes. Happy birthday.
That's amazing.
I'm only a little terrified that a teenager is listening to our show.
I've kind of stopped feeling bad because I can't be their parent.
I don't feel bad. It's just, it's weird to me.
I feel bad.
Yeah, fair.
Well, because remember, I was a youth worker for a long time, like 15
Right.
years. Oh my
Right.
God, as long as Tris has been alive. And and so I spent a lot of time telling kids to stay away from things like this. So
Right. Right. Yeah. What's that Jimmy Buffett song, "We Are the People Our Parents Warned Us About"?
there you go. There you go. Yeah, we are now.
So thanks so much, Tris. And yeah, we do definitely want to hear those stories.
Next one is from Jessica, and she says she started listening to the show since getting a job in a lab related to turducken testing. And she says the show helps her get through her 12-hour shifts, and she enjoys that we actually believe in the non-natural aspects of the world, which, yeah, we do. I mean, what else are you going to do? She's never experienced a ghost encounter, but does believe in the supernatural realm. Says Jessica, I was born and raised in a very strict evangelical Pentecostal church. Oh, amen, sister, testify. I personally do not have the gift of speaking in tongues, but I do get chills when someone is truthfully speaking in tongues. I get the same type of chills when I listen to some of the reader stories on your podcast. I like to muse that I can sense when a story is truly supernatural, like I can sense it that same way I can sense God, the Holy Spirit during church service, which is really cool.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Yeah, and I mean, those two things are absolutely linked, 100%. You're just talking about different kinds of spiritual movement.
Next up is Tyler. Tyler is writing from a small town in Texas to tell us about an experience he had when he was young. Tyler says that a tall man would walk past the door of the room he shared with his brother. He says the man was so tall he had to bend over to look in the room, and when he did, the boys could see his yellow eyes. Tyler says he believes it had something to do with the house, as when you walked in there was a heavy sadness. He also says they have just recently moved, and when they were almost done, the man appeared and gave the boys a hand wave before disappearing, and they haven't seen him since. And I got to say, that is a real dick move on the ghost's part. He's just at that point trying to make an impression.
Oh, and he's trying to scare them. 100%.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So, well, Tyler, I'm glad you're out of there, and thanks for sharing that with us.
Emma C. sent us a lovely email. She says, so I found you guys through Emma and Dan on Real Life Ghost Stories, a very quality show. When
Absolutely.
they did a promo of yours.
I was agreeing with you.
Oh, okay.
I know it doesn't happen very often.
No, it threw me. Completely threw me.
Also, fuck you. Does that help?
Yeah. There. The balance has been restored to the universe.
Good.
When they did a promo of yours and have been listening for a while now. So first of all, hello from a new fan in Ireland. Hello. Secondly, yous are great. Lastly, Brennan, you have the best feckin' laugh I've literally ever heard. I hope you sell this to every scary movie and show and in every haunted house in the world. It is epic. That is true.
You're too kind.
It scares me still. Also, I heard you say you were going to do voiceover or no audiobooks. That's brilliant. You have great voices. Did I mention the laugh? Great idea. I'm sure it'll be a huge success. Anyway, keep doing what you do. Thanks so much for the escape from everything and lots of love from the Garden of Ireland.
Well, thank you very much, Emma. That's very kind. And I believe the Garden of Ireland is Wicklow.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Which is I have only spent a very, very small amount of time there, but it's a very beautiful place.
Very cool. I have yet to get to Ireland, which is ironic as I was born in England.
Next up is Jaden, and Jaden wrote in to follow up on a story that she submitted a couple years ago that we read on episode 25, A Very Scary Anniversary. She says that her and her boyfriend have been renting his childhood home for 2 years, and weird stuff has continued to happen. Her boyfriend works night shift, 13 days on and 1 off. Yikes. So Jaden spends the majority of her evenings and nights alone. When he's home and sleeping in their bed, she can sleep through the night, but when he's not, she tends to wake up 3 to 4 times a night. She doesn't know for sure if it's the house or her that's haunted, but the experiences tend to happen when she's alone. She says the Alexa in their kitchen started blasting music one night when she was laying in bed. She texted her boyfriend to see if he had somehow done it remotely, but when he replied hours later, he said his phone had been in his work truck the whole time. She also says that a green ball they bought for their cat, which it had no interest in, turned up in the middle of a room when the cat was zonked out on her bed. Anyways, she says, nothing major has changed or happened since my last email 2 years ago, but we wanted to keep you guys updated as we loved listening to your podcasts and reading your books. Thank you for all your support, time, and stories that you've shared through the years. Well, Jaden, thank you so much for updating us, for keeping in touch, and for your kind words. Again,
absolutely.
It's just nice to hear. I will say that I refuse to have a smart anything in my home. Don't make any smart ass comments.
I get that. I have had a couple of freaky incidences with them. So I do understand that. I'm also not a huge fan of the way, we can talk about, oh, this is a Portuguese blah, blah, blah. And then the next day there it is on Facebook adverts for traveling to Portugal.
No, I'm not a fan of that either.
Yeah. And at first I'm like, oh, it's so intrusive on my privacy. And then it was like, nah, who cares? I like being able to turn the lights off with my voice. But I mean, our kitchen, as you know, our kitchen Google Home Hub thing has caught a couple of anomalies that we can't explain. So I don't know. Are they a blessing or a curse?
I just hear those clips rather of Alexa's laughing in the night. Have you heard those?
No.
Alexa will just start laughing.
That's creepy.
That is the worst thing in the world. I can't imagine anything worse.
Because what is going into that system to produce that?
Yep. What? Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to know.
No, I don't want to know either.
We've even got my brother-in-law sent us a Facebook portal.
Oh yeah, I remember those. They were popular for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So we've used it periodically to keep in touch with the family. Because he has one, so it works a lot better when you're talking portal to portal.
Right.
But it comes with a cap that you put over the lens, and a separate switch to turn off the microphone.
Oh.
So, yeah, I imagine because they're aware that everyone is super paranoid about having a goddamn camera in their house.
Yes.
So they're trying to mitigate that to some degree. I mean,
the only camera we have in the house is in the kitchen and one on the front door.
Oh, okay, that's not
They're
terrible.
not anywhere else.
I actually heard this thing on the Savage Lovecast, which is one of my go-to podcasts. But apparently some people were kind of repurposing those Nest doorbells.
Oh, yeah.
For naughty stuff.
What?
So for like example, say your partner works away.
Right.
So you would put the Nest in the bedroom. When you're ready, you ring it and it activates.
Oh my God.
Then you do your thing and your partner can watch it on their phone.
Oh my God.
But there are some issues because as I understand it, Nest has been complying with police requests for like camera footage in a certain radius.
Yes.
So you twerking for your fella is now being just sent via the cloud to whoever asks for it.
Perfect.
So don't jerk off in front of your Nest.
Well, it wasn't just that. I saw a Fifth Estate or Marketplace episode about people who were buying wireless security cameras for their home.
Right.
At no point in the instructions did it ever suggest changing the default password. And what that meant was that anyone who knew the default password could log into your house and see everything.
God.
There's actually a website dedicated to listing all the quote unquote open cameras.
Yikes.
Right?
Oh, dude.
So on the show, they actually went to 3 or 4 of these homes and they're like, so we know that. And they listed off all the stuff they couldn't possibly know unless they've been inside the house. And
that's terrifying.
The person's getting more and more angry. And then they're like, this is how we know. And it's like, oh my God.
Oh, man. Well, Jaden, enjoy your Alexa.
Victoria is a listener from Bristol in England and wrote in to say that she was listening to one of our old episodes in which Brennan talks about the impracticalities of getting it on with Tinkerbell. Goes to posit a question about Gulliver's travels in the land of Lilliput that are probably best left unanswered.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into more detail than that. Victoria, I'm impressed. You managed to make these links.
So funny.
I mean, there is a name for that. And I'm not going to say but there is a name for that practice. So I was aware of it, so I wasn't caught totally off guard. But man, I never thought about Gulliver's Travels that way, but now I can't get it out of my head.
Right.
And I got to say, man, when she mentioned about that episode where I talk about it was like a running joke about like having sex with Tinkerbell.
Yeah,
I can't believe I used to say shit like that.
You did often.
I remember starting the show and I felt like I needed to be like a much more heightened version of myself.
Yes, I remember that. We talked about that.
And it just got too much to maintain. And also I found people were reacting to me like I was that person.
Yes, that was a real problem.
So it was an object lesson in be careful how you present yourself to the public because you can become that.
100%.
Because I'm a degenerate, don't get me wrong.
But not that much of a degenerate.
So thank you very much, Victoria. You opened my eyes to some possibilities in the world.
Mm-hmm.
We'll call it that. We had a message from Beth via Facebook. Beth says, "Hey guys, just wanted to say that I love your podcast. I'm in Melbourne, Australia, and we are in serious stage 4 lockdown. I actually am doing surprisingly well, especially considering I'm an extrovert. That's partly due to your podcast, which is getting me through. I've binge listened to pretty much the whole thing. Also, your voices and accents are very sexy." Oh, no, I'm blushing. I'm British. Well, no one's perfect. But live in Australia, and I love your accents. Thank you, and keep up the amazing work. Well, Beth, thank you. That's lovely. And
I'm sorry you're that lonely.
Let me enjoy this, Gibbs.
Oh, okay. Right.
Thank you, Beth. Thanks for listening, and stay safe over there.
Our next email comes from Michael. "Hey guys, my name's Michael. I love the podcast. I live in Des Moines, Iowa, and I've lived here my whole life. I have a few stories for you guys. I do want to say, though, that my parents' house is haunted, and I have a buttload of stories about that place. To this day, I will not go in there alone. It gives me the creeps. Seen shadow people, the man in white, and heard all kinds of weird things. Urgh. And Michael also sent in 3 listener stories that we are going to be sharing on an upcoming episode, so that's awesome. Thank you for that, Michael. We always appreciate the contribution of stories."
Next, we hear from Madison. "Hi, I was listening to the episode It Wasn't a Dream, It Was the Clown, and the second to last one was about the child that thought about death in the middle of the night and saw a stone rolling in front of him. It could have been a past life of some sort, like she had either died and was put in a tomb, or she was left there to die in a past life many years ago. Our listener Nancy also suggested this, as did Garrett, who also had this to add. Hey guys, I was just listening to episode 91, and about the guy who had dreams about being a woman being chased by someone with a knife, it struck something in me. It sounds like it could be remembering a past life. People report having memories like that at a very young age and lose them as they get older. But maybe that was so traumatizing for him in his past life that he was never able to forget it." And yeah, we got a lot of emails about this, and I believe it was Josh who wrote in with this. And the only reason I'm a little bit uncertain about the past life hypothesis with the stone, at least, is because the stone would roll in from different directions.
Right.
It was almost like it was a little different each time.
Yeah.
Which it could be a past life, but I feel like theoretically something would happen one way. But yeah, the stone thing, again, I'm a little bit uncertain of that. Although the one where he's being chased by someone, that could possibly be that. I once had a dream a long time ago, and not even that long ago, maybe five years ago. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of it because it'll really kill the vibe. But in the dream, I was a woman, and I was trying to get away from someone in the woods, and I was on a snowmobile.
Right.
And I'll just say I wasn't fast enough.
Oh, no.
And it was a very, very bad dream. And so I don't know. Was that a past life experience? Was I picking up on something that was happening out there in the world?
Yeah.
Or, was I just working through something and that's the theater it chose to illustrate it? I honestly don't know.
Interesting. But
yeah, it was very, very vivid. I still remember a lot of it. So yeah, who knows?
Christina sent us an email. We had a message from her that said, "I learned an important lesson last weekend. I learned that if I'm going to be driving through a mountainous, curvy road through a handful of small towns after dark, listen to the podcast is not the best of ideas." I would agree with that. Yes. It seemed like a great idea when I left Phoenix at dusk, but by the time I hit Congress, Arizona, it was full dark. This turns a fairly harmless van on the side of the road or a fox playing on the road to something a lot more ominous. I would agree with that. And honestly, one of the freakiest times I think was driving through the desert at night. It is just so open and so flat and just, yeah, it was something happens. Stephen King wrote a whole book about it. So,
oh yeah,
I think that, I think Christina has a good point. She also shared a story about staying at a camp in the Mormon Lake area, which we will be sharing on an upcoming show. So listen for that.
Anna says she downloaded a sample of my book, A Strange Little Place, available everywhere fine books are sold, by the audiobook, because that's all she can afford right now. And she said, "Does that give him a commission at all? Lol, I'm going to read it on my lunch today." No, I don't get a commission from that, Anna, but still, I'm happy you're reading it at all. Don't worry. I joke about the money part of it. That doesn't really matter to me. I'm just happy you're reading it. That I find it very flattering that you would want to spend any time reading my book. So thank you so much just for that. I'm thrilled with that alone. And I hope you enjoy it. I'm so bored with it now, but I hope you enjoy it.
I can't imagine having to reread my book, so I'm so glad you did the audio version.
I can't imagine having to reread your book now either.
I have a question for you because it's coming up to the third printing. They asked me, are there any changes you want to make? And I said, no, I don't think so. I think we caught them all in the second printing. But then I realized I literally have not opened the book since then. Did you catch anything in there that you went, oh, there's a mistake there?
I mean, how much
don't you say writing style or research, you fucker. I know exactly what you're going to say. I mean... in an editorial kind of way, not in an opinionated editorial kind of way.
No.
Okay, thank you. That's all I needed. Not your smart assery. Our patron Amanda says, goodness, I love this podcast. I love that. I've listened to every episode at least 3 times. I have to take you both to dinner the next time I'm in Victoria. Well, as 2 guys who love food, we will happily accept.
Yeah, no argument here.
But I love that. Goodness, I love this podcast.
Next up is Debbie. Debbie was inspired to write by the story from episode 92, where we talked about my friend who experiences a figure looking after them when they're ill. Debbie says she also has a visitor when she's sick, and it goes all the way back to the time she had tonsillitis when she was 8. She woke up to see an elderly lady sitting in a nearby chair, and the woman was knitting, and when she saw Debbie was awake, she leaned over, she put her hand on her head, and she said her name was Mrs. Jennings. And Mrs. Jennings said that she had been sent to look after her by Debbie's nan.
Wow.
Yeah, and Mrs. Jennings was there whenever Debbie awoke, and once she was over the worst of it, she stood up and told the girl she would see her later. And Debbie says she's been there every time she's been ill, including 7 years ago when she had major surgery for cancer. And Debbie says she is always dressed in a gabardine mac and a sort of beret. She always has her knitting with her. She has a black bag as well. The chair that she sits on doesn't exist in this plane. She brings it with her. There is often a faint smell of lavender from her. This has been going on for nearly 60 years now. I find her presence comforting, and I know I am getting better when she leaves. I would like to think that when I do die, she will be there to greet and guide me. And that is really beautiful, Debbie. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds so nice to have that kind of assurance.
It sounds pretty incredible, actually. I love that.
So I hope that you don't find out that last question for a very long time, but I hope that when you do, she is in fact there to greet you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to do it for the first round of listener mail in the Ghost Story Guys mini show. Thanks to everyone who reached out, everyone who got in touch. Can't tell you how much we love hearing from you. And if you want to send us a message, possibly you have your story read out on the main show or your personal message read here, send it to ghoststoryguys@gmail.com.
And thanks for sending them in because, a lot of times it's like all we can really do is use the stories, like I said before. So it's so great that we can actually sort of sample some of the messages we get, the great messages we get, and share them with everybody else. So thank you for that.
And now it's time for Chicken Talk. Welcome to Chicken Talk. This is the part of the show when Ian fills us in on what's new and exciting with his chickens. This is something that used to just be a patron-only thing, and we're folding it in here now. So if there's something new or amusing that's happening with Ian's chickens, you will hear about it here on Chicken Talk.
Chicken Talk. Yeah, we had a little dog issue, so the side gate got left open, and apparently our neighbor is having a friend visit him who owned a poodle. And the poodle...
God, it's a poodle. That's worse.
I know, right? And the poodle apparently went berserk trying to get in and was throwing itself at the side of the enclosure, which, as you know, is only held together with zip straps, deer netting, and faith. So yes. It's not exactly a lockdown entry-proof space. Anyway, by the time the assault was over, one of the chickens had somehow gotten through the roof netting and was sitting up on the very top of the enclosure. So she had to be grabbed and pulled back in. But it did highlight to me yet again that I need to just bite down and get some hardware cloth, and which is stronger than chicken wire, and wrap the outside of the enclosure and do it right. It never occurred to me I would have to worry more about domestic animals than wild animals, because I've never had that before. Where I had my chickens before, I had 2 flocks before this.
Right.
It was never an issue. But here there's cats, there's dogs. It's like, oh, Jesus.
There's me trying to get eggs for late night omelets.
Right? Yeah, no, it's a problem. So
after the third time you caught me, I was embarrassed. Let me tell you.
I think we were all embarrassed after that complete soaking I gave you with the hose. I think, that was...
Joke's on you. That's my kink. And just before we go, it is time for our Ghost Force shoutouts. That's right. Every second episode, we will thank the members of Ghost Force in this section because you guys are friggin' nuts and we love you for it.
We do.
The members of Ghost Force are
Anne Ramey,
Arwen Simons,
Chet,
Christopher Kuhns,
Colin Gately,
Danny Hall,
Eric Gable,
Hannah Brown,
Jackie McFarland,
Jeanette Patterson,
Jennifer Petty,
Just Julie,
Karen,
Kimberly Hansen,
Lumpy Rug,
Mark Semler,
Mary Rose,
Melanie,
Noel Jim,
Paul Rowlands,
Rebecca Cluche,
Rosemary Tinape,
and Stephanie.
You are the few, you are the proud, you are Ghost Force. If you want to become part of Ghost Force, head on over to patreon.com/ghoststoryguys. That's patreon.com/ghoststoryguys. We have tiers at the $1, $5, $10, $20, and $50 levels. 20 and 50 gets you the Ghost Force shoutout every 2 weeks right here on this show. Also gets you art cards of my night photography, exclusive ringtones of our theme music and our stories theme, Ian's smash hit Christian country album Aware of Wonder, and much, much more. So again, head on over to patreon.com/ghoststoryguys for more information. And that's our show.
Yeah.
We managed to get to the end. It is
pretty sweet.
It is longer than I anticipated, but I'm sure we'll get it down.
Well, once you edit out all the profanity and possible legally actionable items, it'll be probably about 20 minutes.
You make a valid point. Thanks for joining us, folks. Thanks for coming with us on this crazy adventure.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be back next week with our regular show. And until then,
into the darkness we go.